Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome back to the show, guys. It hasn't been but just a few hours, and here we are back again. Good to see everybody that showed up. I see the usual suspects. I see Agrillipus. I see Duck, the Patriot Government TV. I see him out there. Morning, Ducky. Chairman of the board, Anson Knowles, is out there in the chat, along with 10th Man and Charles Darwin. Got some people coming out this morning. Man, what a night last night it was. Stayed late, did work, put work in. Kept Anson Knowles up past his bedtime, that's for sure. It's interesting, some of the viewpoints from last night. We're going to have to get into that a little better, a little later. Agrillipus, you have no children until tomorrow? Okay. I actually, mine should be going on a camping trip this weekend, but he also, instead, he has, actually has shooting this weekend. So he's going to be, instead of going camping, he's going to stay home so he can go shoot. So that's that. And Agrillipus, it's missed you around here lately. I've noticed that you've been kind of missing. So, wow, Agrillipus, that is okay. All right. Yeah. What an evening it was last night. We had Rob Nord drop by. Him and Duck kind of had a little back and forth. Ducky kind of spurred a little bit last night. He needs to, keep it together a little better. But, I mean, it is Rob Nord. I have a debate later today, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time with Econoboy. Let's go. Econoboy is going to get both barrels today. Maybe. I don't know. Econoboy, he seems really chill for the most part. So it may not be, I might be overhyping this a little bit. But that's okay. So, Agrillipus, my youngest is 4 and my oldest is 14. So I get that. I get that hardcore. So, yeah. You destroyed Rob's bed. No, you did not, Duck. You did not. I profoundly hope that you are joshing right now. That you are joshing. So the you did not destroy Rob at all. Rob actually walked you back and forth like a puppy, trying to show you where your poop was, and you wouldn't pay attention to it. So, I have TDS. No, I don't think so. So, morning, Steve Granger. Haven't seen you in here before, so good morning to you. That is exactly true, Duck. I'm sorry. We could take a poll amongst the people that were here last night and watched it, but they're just going to confirm what I already know, and that is you got walked back and forth like a puppy looking for, like a puppy on a leash. Just telling you, that's the way it is. So, I mean, and the whole thing of bringing up the Ruby Ridge stuff, I mean, as an example of MAGA like violence is weird. Your massive wang. If you had a massive wang, you wouldn't be unemployed, because I hear the porn industry is always looking. So, good morning, Michelle. How are you? As the subject of wang comes up, so does Michelle. Michelle is in here. The minute wang was mentioned, not specifically his wang, it's just wang brings out Michelle. Apparently. I don't know. So Michelle, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. It's been a few minutes since you've done more than just do a drive-by. So hopefully you can hang out today and chat, maybe even come up on the stage and talk. So be cool. It'd be cool. Oh man, so much. I don't really. I had a show planned around. I had a whole show planned around, the subject of what really blew up the deal that I had going on with with this last business, the production company. I had a whole thing ready to go on it, and then, and we may still do some of that, but the one thing I don't want to do is I don't really want to talk too much about what I'm going to, about the upcoming debate ahead of the debate. And I'm not reviewing Econoboy's game footage or anything like that. For all I know, he's one of the 10 people watching right now. And, I don't, and not that that's not okay. I just, I don't want to tip my hand. I don't want to, can't really give him, look, he's too smart to give breaks. So we're not going to do that. Hello, Cursed Zero. Good to see you. Good to see you. Smoking Spaceman. Good morning or afternoon, sir. Depending on what part of the country you're in, it is either morning or afternoon. It's a nice little time of day. Lord of Pies, I see you strolling in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, Rob actually destroyed you last night, Duck. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. Man, if you're vegan, eat some meat or something, because you got destroyed. If you're not vegan, and then up your meat intake, because you got destroyed. I am interested, Duck. You mentioned last night that you're unemployed. I have to ask, what do you do for work when you are employed? I cannot even tell you how interested I am in what you do normally for work. I don't know why I'm interested, but I just am. Charles Darwin, we can talk about something important, the choice to wear pants or no pants during winter. I lived in Colorado and for a while, and there was always those dudes that you'd see strolling around in shorts, was in the snow. I don't know what's up with those guys. That's kind of stupid, but whatever. And actually, Michelle, I may need you to come up and take care of the panel for a couple of minutes, or take care of the show for a couple of minutes. I may have to run inside really quick. I just heard my phone beep, and that's never a good sign. But at any rate, this isn't your question. I'm paid not to kill humans. Okay, that's good. Negative 15 is no time for shorts. Yeah, I agree with that. That's fine. I mean, now I am guilty of wearing short sleeves or shorts or whatever when it's where my wife thinks I'm absolutely insane to do so. I'm guilty of that. But I think that's just a normal dude thing. I don't think that that's, I'm particularly weird about that. My son, my 14-year-old, I mean, he wore a leather jacket to school this morning. I'm like, dude, it's 76 degrees outside. What are you doing? That's what he wanted to wear. So, he likes that, he likes that aesthetic. So it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, we need to talk about, you're probably going to talk about some business stuff today. I know that I got a lot of really positive feedback about when we started talking about purchasing businesses, and that's actually why I may have to go in. I may have to go in the house here in a minute, because I've got some stuff I need. I have to go talk to my wife for a minute in person about a deal that we've got going on now. I think most people should probably not own a business, but I think everybody should contemplate owning a business. And sometimes, a business as a side hustle actually works. So, yeah. Yeah, so it's an interesting, yeah, it's an interesting thing. This last deal blew up. Obviously, I think I've mentioned it about, over the rent, um, and the lease arrangement that went sideways, right as we're ready to get down to brass tacks and move forward with the deal. I now have a new deal on the table. Obviously, I have a deal right now for a business, and I have a deal on the table right now for. I've talked about this as a larger business. They work in um, specialized construction, and the hey, what's up, Ticky Tack? You should come up too. I may have to run inside for a minute, so I may need somebody just to fill to fill some time. I may have to jump off. My phone hasn't beeped again, so that's a good sign. Um, but I'm in the middle. So I'm in the downslope of buying this other business. I think we're pretty much close to getting everything sorted out. The financing is pretty much in place. Where all the money goes, who gets the money, and all of that. Oh, okay, no worries, Ticky Tack. It's fine. Um, and so I think we're pretty close to this deal being done. So and of course the deal the cascade, the deal that comes in after it, that deal blew up. So now I'm looking at something else, and um, uh, I'm really leaning towards this body shop. I've owned one before. I like them. They make money, um, and it looks like a really solid deal on my end. We'll see as I get into it. So, Duck, what do you do for work? I've got to know. I know I gotta my my phone is gonna blow up. I mean, like I said, I'm in the end process of this deal, so um, I may have to go in and just we've got calls going on today, so I may have to um, uh, I may have to go inside and jump on a call for just like 5 minutes or so. Landlords are panhandling prep cooks who do a great job. I've never been a prep cook, but I am a landlord. I am a landlord. So why are you unemployed, Duck? I gotta, you know. Subscription tech businesses. That's interesting. That is interesting. Probably, probably figures, I guess. I don't understand what you're trying to say there, Duck. You're gonna have to dumb it down to normal person speak for me. I'm okay for right now, Charles Darwin. The right now the fire is fine. My wife can handle like 90% of it. All right. Anyway, all right. So at the end of the day, we've got this business, and what I'm looking at right now, it's a body shop. It's not particularly expensive as far as businesses go, and realistically, it makes enough money that you could have a reasonable income and pay off the note on the business in probably 5 or 6 years. Um, so it's a good deal on a lot. Um, um, the deal tends to the deal's going to rotate around the idea of what the seller needs to get out. This guy bought the business from the prior owner, who he worked for. So it's basically like one guy retired, another guy bought the business and was continuing, but great body man, horrible business owner, horrible, does not understand any of the things he needs to understand to make money in business. You know, that's it's an important thing, right? Is to be good at business. It's far more important if you own a business to be good at business than to be good at the trade of the business, because you generally hire people that are great at the trade but bad at business. So the the situation I have here now is, hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
You know, I'm busy.
I know you are.
I'm like really busy lately. So I'll kind of pause where I was and then talk to Michelle here. So how have you been? You have been flitting about. I see you here, there, and somewhere. How have you been?
I've been going through it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A little bit of rough stuff?
Yeah.
Health or?
It is health, yeah. It is health.
Terrible.
And I like deteriorated a lot in the last several months. And
wow.
I at least now I feel like I know what's going on, and that's really reassuring. But it's also like I'm going to be dealing with this for the rest of my life.
Mm.
And now I have to strategically plan my life in regards to this. And that kind of sucks because I watched a lot of people before me go through this and it wasn't fun. And yeah, so that blows.
Yeah.
So I'm going through it. I'm just kind of chewing on that. So it's like, I'm still kind of paying attention to YouTube world and political stuff, but I have been so in my own head about things. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, I get that. And you know, no pressure from my side at all.
Of
You
course.
know, like you're totally cool to do whatever and all that. So you know, it seems like there's a lot of people kind of going through it right now. You know, obviously, you know, Glenn's been going through it with Thor for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and he's not, you know, he looks really stressed. Like when I see him, when he cams up, he looks really stressed. Like Glenn used to not look very stressed at all, like ever.
Mm-hmm.
And now he looks really stressed. So.
We talk daily, and yeah, he's doing a very hard thing.
Yeah.
And all we can really do is just pour out support for him when, you know, you understand what people are going through, especially when it comes to caregiving. He needs it because it's rough, and it's hard for anybody to freaking go through. It blows.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible. I you know, and I've been through this. I think most adults at some point in their life have to go through somebody, either themselves or somebody they care about going, you know, that you know, just, you know, losing their health gradually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be. I got to be honest. I'm really pretty impressed with Glenn because he's held up really pretty well, as far as I know. Like you know, I mean, honestly, and it would be totally okay if he did. For all I know, he's like throwing things in the backyard every night, you know, or breaking stuff, and who knows, you know, like however he's dealing with that amount of stress. You know, hopefully it's in a controlled, destructive manner, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's not, you know, and there's a lot of people going through stuff right now, and I think that we all have to kind of remember that. You know, Glenn had his own health issues last year. He's not, I don't even know if he's really actually recovered from that.
I try to get on him about stuff, you know, like you taking care of that pulmonary embolism, you know, make sure you follow up with that medication and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's he's one of those guys where he's a lot better about taking care of other people than he is about himself.
Yeah.
So, like, I know that you check on him a lot. I really appreciate that. He sure does need it.
It's not that I intend to, but for some reason, I notice when people are like missing. Like
Hmm.
I notice that Agrippas has been in and out. I mean, he would pop in and then he'd be gone for the last few days. So I know he's busy, right?
Yeah.
And I know that, so I don't need to ask him about it. But I make, I can work out that, something's going on in his life that's keeping him really busy. And it's the same thing with Glenn. When I look at Glenn, I can physically see that he's like, he's worn, he's not as Glenn is. And even when he's online, he's still got to pay attention to what's going on with Thor and all of his needs. And so, he's been online and had to just duck off like almost instantly. And, that's just part of it. It's nothing you can do about it. So,
I'm trying to build something.
yeah. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
heard that he's, go
hmm?
ahead.
Oh, I said I'm trying to build something.
Oh, you are.
Glenn is too. Glenn is very on his way. I have more faith in him building something than me building something.
Hmm.
So, um, but going through like what I'm going through, observing what Glenn's going through, seeing the trajectory of I really, really want to build a patient-owned AI platform. And because having AI while I'm going through what I'm going through has been invaluable, and I don't think I would have gotten very far without it.
Hmm.
And I see how beneficial it is, especially for those who have things that are hard to diagnose or have been misdiagnosed and really kind of need to like keep their history straight, especially for things that are cross-referenced throughout specialties.
Hmm.
Because here in the West, we have big time medical silos. And so, what I want to build is basically kind of like an AI platform where people can talk to it in a conversational way and mention their symptoms that would then be um, correlated and analyzed over time. So, if you tell a story about your mom having some sort of issue, it would um, it would take that into account later on in a way that a doctor simply cannot. And even with our own medical care right now, like when as soon as you start crossing these specialties, medical groups, insurances, you lose everything. You lose all of that history. We desperately need something that patients own, that isn't brought
Hmm.
in by healthcare professionals or insurance companies or epic billing, things like that. So I guess I kind of like want to mention that I'm looking for help for this. I don't really know where to start, but it really needs to be done because AI is going to come to the medical field one way or another, and somebody needs to own it. And I really, really want it to be owned by the people who need it.
I actually thought about that a while back because I keep track of all of my kids' medical records.
Hmm.
I have all of them, and um, I think the thing that most people do now is they just don't actually collate or even collect to start with their actual medical records. Um, they don't ask for copies of the doctor's notes and that kind of thing, so that what most people really need is a file that they carry that they
Hmm.
can go to a doctor and say, here, um, this is me for the last 10 years.
Right.
And I don't know why that is, because I grew up, my mom had a folder on each one of us kids, every chipped tooth, every scratch, my brother broke his leg, all of it. It all went in a file. And so if we went to the doctor didn't ask me 30 questions before the doctor would walk in and my mom would
Hmm.
hand him this file
Hmm.
and say, he scraped his leg, down to damn near the bone, last year or whatever. And And so the doctor started from a position of knowledge to, right out of the gate.
Hmm.
And I think that we've lost that. So I think what
Big
you're
time.
talking about is kind of a it's kind of something that sounds really simple and probably should exist anyway, just individually, but it doesn't for most people. So I see that. I see what's going on. I mean, I get that.
Hmm.
And a lot of people just don't bother because they figure their their insurance company knows, right?
Right.
Um,
But yeah, everybody's so worried about how it's going to get paid for,
right.
and the medical industry is so worried about managing the symptoms.
Hmm.
When I went through what I'm going through, I realized that part of what I have is very treatable, but nobody was looking for it. Nobody would have found it.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't even know how to find it. And I had been to so many specialists. Like, I had been misdiagnosed all my life. Like, I realized it went that far back. And as soon as I started putting particular symptoms together in the way that AI would, or probably in the way that your mother would, if like you had a genetic condition, it all freaking made sense. And so you're right. It is kind of like the baby book of medical care that we just simply don't do anymore. And then we count on our insurance to do it for us, and they only care about saving money.
Yeah, they literally it's all by
Yep.
billing, not by symptom,
It's all
by
billing. And I am
not by
so,
date, none of that.
yeah, I am so over the whole like billing
So
code economy and medical care. I'm done.
I do think that this would be something that could be that AI can do,
Absolutely.
given access, because AI basically is just a really sophisticated search engine. That's all it is.
Yes. Hmm.
And so what you're really asking for is, and what I guess, I mean, I'm not an expert here by any means, but basically what you would want is you would want some way of when the doctor gives you a diagnosis or an evaluation or whatever, that is put onto your server or your file somewhere on the interwebs or in a Google Google Drive or whatever, and then you would allow access to that to the specific AI that has been programmed and developed to search those types of files and associate specific things together. But you run the risk of having so much misdiagnosis, right? It's just like,
Doctors only write so much percent of the time anyway. Like,
yeah,
at
well,
least
but I
then
mean,
you're getting all of it.
I'm just thinking about how, yeah, that's true. But have you ever asked an AI to draw a picture and there's a foot in the guy's nose or whatever? Like it's
Oh,
like,
totally. Yeah. I mean, but that's like imaging. The diagnostic parameters that we teach to people, we teach to AI. You upload that
yeah,
PDF of diagnostic criteria, it does it.
yeah.
You tell AI a story about, um, a way that you reacted to some food or something, and it will remember, and it will probably correlate not only that allergy, but subsequent medication allergies based on that particular allergies in a way that, a person simply cannot.
See,
I
here,
disagree. Sorry. I disagree
oh,
with the premise about it taking over. Sorry, I saw the chat.
yeah.
About it taking over the medical field. I think the cares field will change, and I think it will go to people who actually fucking care. And I think that's good.
I see what Zach or is this Zach? Josh. I see what Josh is talking about here. Um, because mechanics do that now, right? Like it's the same thing with having the AI diagnose your car and tell you what's wrong with your car. That the AI is not a human; it can't reason, it can't observe things, so it's not exactly the right thing. I do believe that it could be rather than rendering diagnoses. I think that especially I really don't want AI trying to. I don't want doctors relying on AI to diagnose.
I wouldn't either. I think they should use it to consult. And also, it's like, it shouldn't be like taking your medical file, uploading it, and letting it tell you what's wrong with you. I mean, we have like gene sequencing for all that sort of crap. But when it comes to symptom tracking, these really complicated disorders where you're starting from zero and you need that in-depth symptom tracking, that's where AI becomes invaluable. And it's going to listen when everybody else's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, I maybe, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you can what you come up with. I am not really sure that works out, but
We'll see.
we'll find out. So, in my opinion, AI is like a blunt tool, and what you're talking about is a scalpel,
Yes.
right? And I don't know that you can turn one into the other, but maybe, I don't know. So
I think you have
yeah,
to train them, but yeah.
yeah. That I do think that doctors should be using more. Well, not doctor. I think that medical centers should be using more AI tools to streamline and make things more efficient, especially the information categorization, because AI can see that, hey, this piece of information fits in 4 categories. So I need to put it in 4 categories, where
Mhm.
humans are lazy fuckers, and we'll put it in just one category. So what you're really talking about is that you have a pain in your knee. When you say you have a pain in your knee, and if you also know that you have a pain in your shoulder and you have a pain in your groin, then if a doctor knows all of that, or can see that, hey, in the last 6 weeks this is what's happened, he's going to have more information to base his diagnosis on, and any testing or procedures. Whereas, but the problem is that humans are lazy, and so there may not be a notation that ties all of that together, right? And
Right.
but an AI would,
Right.
because AIs are not lazy. They don't really give a
They
shit.
just compute.
Yeah.
They just compute.
So, it would appear 4 times that, oh yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened. Yeah. So I could see that. I mean, I wish you luck, because um, the medical field is a field that needs to shrink a lot, and it needs to get better, and it needs to return. I personally believe it needs to return to more personalized community type care, where the same doctors are seeing the same patients, and not the production line method we have now.
Mhm.
I don't know that we'll see that, to be honest with you. It's such a big business that you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And
I would really love to see like different fields come up that are more. I mean, they just take more time. Like for right now, like chiropractic is a big thing, and you go to a chiropractor, that is an assembly line. You see the doctor for maybe 2 minutes, they crack you, they send you off to their assistants to put you on stim or whatever exercise that you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, but growing up, I used to see a napropath. And a napropath is kind of like a chiropractor, except for doing hard adjustments. They work on the supporting soft tissues, and it's
Mm.
much more gentle, way better for you, but it takes a long time and very, very skillful practice. And
My neighbor's a chiropractor, but
oh, really?
I didn't know there's like 7 or 8 different kinds of chiropractors.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
There are different like degrees. Like you could have like your PhD chiropractor and like your quacky kind of uh,
Well, there's
whatever
some that
chiropractor.
actually like crack the joints, and there's some that are more intramuscular, and there's some that are. I mean, it's like it's pretty interesting, honestly. I didn't get too far into it, but it was interesting.
Oh yeah.
Um, Angel Berber, you are correct. The medical system currently is in the same situation that the entire, you misspelled entire as higher, but entire education system is in, and that it is bloated, costs a lot of damn money, and it needs to get much smaller um, in scope and size before it can become focused again and actually become effective. So yeah. I have a friend of mine that's a chiropractor, and I forget which type he is, but he does very well for himself. He's a pretty good guy. Um, but I I've actually got to have my back looked at. I've got on my right side, I get a if I'm tired or I just do something for an extended period of time, I get like a pain, and I think I think it's muscular. So I don't think it's like in the actual back, but I need to get checked out.
Hmm.
So that's actually on my schedule of things to do that will probably not get done for a while. I got too many other things to do.
You gotta take care of yourself, Fred.
Try. It could be bursitis. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And the so it kind of comes and goes, especially mainly if I get overtired and am doing a bunch of stuff or standing a long time, that kind of thing. It starts giving me a little pain. So
That sucks.
yeah, we'll figure it out. So aside from the health issues, are you doing well?
Yeah, aside from that, just chugging along.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. What have you thought of the show lately? I know you haven't been able to catch much of it, and I don't know if you've how much you've actually watched of it. But what do you think of the show lately?
It way more busy lately. I'm happy to see the growth. And I think the signals or no, whatever the Saturday night or Friday night show is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's going really well.
yeah. I got to figure
Also,
out some monetization issues on that because I think
it'll come.
Anson.
It's already going pretty well.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So the way it's set up is that even if every debate is paid for and everything, it's just there's only so much that can be made, right? Because there's only so many debates that we have in an evening because we only allow so many people up, and that means that it's just it typically turns out to be about 8 debates, $50 a debate, like $400. That's kind of where it is. So to get to the next tier, I'm not really sure how to do that. Anson Knowles thinks I need to drop prices, but the only way that dropping the price works, which I don't think it will, but the only way that would work is if we were able to somehow stimulate much more super chatting and things like that throughout the show. Which maybe that happens. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I have it's just it's just a time versus what we can get done,
Mhm.
So it's not even a question of need more viewers or need more this or that. I mean, it's just I've kind of without knowing it, I kind of limited the amount that could be made, which I'm fine with, right? But my problem is that I want so the debaters get 10%, and I want those guys to make more money. So I've actually every single time I've paid out more than what we've made, as percentage wise, right? So if it was like whatever, and they were going to get 30 or $40, I would give them 50 or whatever. And just pad it because I don't know. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. So, but it needs to. I need to figure it out a little better. But for me, I don't know.
Have
For
you
me, it's
considered
like,
putting in like sponsorships for like the types of debates?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I got to figure something out, right? Like it's, the money in and of itself is not as important to me as having a great show.
Yeah.
But because we've tied the debaters' winnings to the earnings, which is the only way I can realistically do it, I don't feel like that. I feel like I really want the guys. I really want the guys to win to like feel good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would be, and so I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is yet.
Maybe it should work more like a tournament, and there's more long-term investment, and you can go down on the initial price for a bigger pot and do several winners.
Yeah, maybe. But then that kind of loses that feel of, anybody can come up and it's just a single night event. And that way it's not part of a series or a tournament. You don't have to be here every single week. And you don't ruin your chances if you're not here for a week. So,
I mean, there is that aspect of it, but even still, like you will still get
Yeah.
the repeaters that are there. Even in the other debate channels, you notice it's still the repeat debaters. I don't think you would lose that much of the spontaneity.
Maybe. I guess the thing is, it's like you ever had like the weekly poker game, and you have 5 guys and the same guy wins in the same number of hands, and instead of winning in like 2 hands, 5 hands, he wins in 2 hands. So every week, all he wins is $20, right? Because that's what there are 2 $10 pots. And that's it, and he won. Well, that's fine. It's like that. It's like, but what do? Do you raise the table stakes so that in 2 hands he makes $200, or do you add more hands, which unfortunately takes more time? And I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough thing. Like, it's not something I thought that I would be thinking about. I actually didn't think I was ever going to talk about it publicly, but it's just something that's, just really needs there's something missing that I've not got yet, but I will get it. I will figure it out. So
I'll think on it some more.
We're pretty smart people. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But
sometimes it just takes time and the right input. And
yeah, I mean, we've only done 4 shows too. I mean, let's just be honest here. We've done 4 shows. Every show's been a success. One night we didn't even have a show because I was so wrecked and tired. So, I don't know. That's it. I don't know. It's interesting, right? Like I don't want it to devolve into a carnival show at all. I really like the aesthetic I have now. My only complaint is that these guys debate, some of these guys debate 3 or 4 rounds. Some of them only debate a couple of rounds, however it works out. And then they get $40 for their effort, right? Like, that just seems wrong to me. Maybe it's just me, man. Maybe it's just me. Nobody's complained about it. Like, nobody said, "Oh, this sucks. I was there for 5 hours and only got $40. What the hell?" But nobody's complained at all. But it bothers me.
I understand.
So it bothers me so much that I give them money out of my right. It is what it is, right? So, and it's just simple math. You just can't get around the math, unfortunately. So, but we'll figure it out. So,
you will.
Yeah.
Patriot Government. I need help building it. I don't know what I'm doing. I just thought of it. I can think of everything it should do, but I don't know how to build it. I need help.
I'm not stressed, kissy cat. I really am not. I'm totally cool. But I have like I don't know. If you've been a part of the show any length of time, I have a weirdness about me that I want I like fairness. I want people to feel like that they're part, I actually want you to feel like you're part of the show, right? Like you're really, you're important and you're not just someone here to just, fuck off for the rest of the day. Right. And, I don't know. It just bugs me. I'm not stressed. I'm cool. Just bugs me. So
I bet by next month it'll be even bigger. You'll have it.
I hope so. And it's one of those things where it does it hits all of the metrics right now. Like the last show was perfect. We started more or less on time. We talked about that last night, Jack. Short a little bit. It started on time. The debates were great. We ended pretty much right on time. It was, everybody was great. There were great debates. We had one guy who kind of spurred out. Other than that, everybody's like, the judging is fair. I mean, it's absolutely, it's absolutely awesome. Sky Lamar, does Raging Tomato, MDD, or any other debate channels pay out for debates? Not that I'm aware of, except for VK, and there's a couple others out over in like the Twitch poll space and some other stuff. So I have this is like a debate game show. So this is like a blood sport debate. If you haven't seen it, it's really cool. You should come by on Saturday night, actually. Saturday night. Come by Saturday night and check it out. It's gonna be it's legit awesome. And
I do know that.
We had a leftist win last week. And he used to be a Maoist. I mean, like, think about that.
Wait, you had a leftist win?
Yeah, that's how fair we are. And he actually beat Beth. Yeah. Which I don't think beating Beth is particularly difficult, but and the thing is that I don't know if you've noticed this, Beth, but one of the things about it is we give feedback between each round. So when you lose or if you win, we're like, hey, this is what you did right, this is what you did wrong, try and do this. Every single round he would take that feedback, and whatever we told him, the next round he did it. And it was really good. It was really good. And I mean, he just made a great argument. So
you know an argument we never had?
What's that?
Should disabled and retired people have the right to vote?
Should they have the right to vote? Do people getting stuff from the government have the right to vote? Are they veterans or were they disabled?
No information, just disabled, retired people.
Well, I think, obviously service guarantees citizenship. So those people so veterans would automatically have the right to vote, disabled or not. Then we have to delineate a little further. I think, I'm going to have the hot take of no, I don't think they should.
Okay.
Because they can vote themselves things, and they cannot, and then they will tend to vote in their own interest rather than the country interest. I'm not saying that. I'm absolutely sure that we can point to outliers like Mikey Balls, who is partially disabled, and he can't, and he votes, the way I would vote. We can certainly point to outliers like that, but I think that a lot of people who are disabled, actually, I may even have to clarify a little further. People who are actually disabled versus the people who claim to be disabled. I guess. I don't know. It's a great question. What's your position?
My position is they absolutely should, because voting is a matter of representation, not of merit, and not an exchange of value.
It is?
Yes.
Since when?
Since always. We already have our merit exchange
No, that's not true.
Base, and that is I'm going to need to finish. All right. So our merit and our value is through our economic system. The voting system was specifically made for... Why did you make me big?
Oh. What the heck?
What happened?
I don't know. There's something about Streamlabs that will randomly just like shut me out. So
weird. I'm not in like the part of the window where I can control anything right now, because when I first jump on, it puts me on as a guest, and I have to like leave, come back in, and then I get all my controls back.
Oh,
yeah, isn't that odd? Anyway, so what I was saying is that voting is not an exchange of value. We already have our value-based system, which is our monetary economic system. The voting system was specifically about representation. Now, when we decided who was represented, it went to the citizens. And we went under the proposition that men at least are created equal. We gave women the vote, and now it is pretty much that everybody who has a citizen who is under the law, who makes up this society, can, contribute by voting. That was never an exchange of value. It was never based on how much you contribute. It was never based on how ethical or how you vote. It was always about, I'm here, this is how I want to be treated. And unless you are uninterested in those people being treated well or having those representation, there's literally no, well, no, there are some reasons why to take it away, but that bar should be so high, very, very, very high before it's taken away.
Okay, so no, we did not always have the right to vote. That's absolutely insane. Only very specific people had the right to vote. As a matter of fact, there were voting polls, there were poll taxes. There were in some areas you couldn't vote unless you owned property and were in good standing in the community. So no, absolutely, our voting is not just for the taking.
Well,
Absolutely
I was
not.
describing, sorry, excuse me.
Absolutely, that's absolutely incorrect, factually incorrect, and historically incorrect.
Mhm.
The fact that we have evolved our voting system to the jackassery that it is today is the reason why our world is fucked. It's because people can vote them, and this is exactly, as been mentioned many times in many different texts, why when people can vote themselves money, they will, and that's just the way of it. Now, there's no reason, honestly, there's no reason for anyone without skin in the game to vote. Period. End of story. That's my belief. You can't change that. There's literally nothing that can change that. It's hard. The harsh truth is that if you're somehow not able to add positively to the society, then you shouldn't be able to vote. I could grant that disabled people who do not take disability, who are contributing members of society, who do pay actual taxes, not have a part-time job where they get their entire every bit of tax they paid in plus a little bit paid back to them, but actually pay in. I could grant that you could have voting rights that way. But I don't believe that most men should vote, and I don't believe that most women should vote. I don't believe that matter of fact, we could just say I don't believe most people should be able to vote, and I just don't believe in this position that you take. Now, I will grant that is the system we have because, unfortunately, we had some weak people back in our history that made serious mistakes in regards to the running of our country, and we're paying for that now. But absolutely, there is a value exchange in our voting system, 100%. I don't know how you get there, and I can't wait to hear. Though I want to understand. I really need it explained to me how there's no value exchange in our voting system.
Well, I feel like you're misrepresenting me just a little bit, so let's clear it up
Could
because
be.
what I was saying is that voting was not about a value exchange, and I also understand that we did not always have the right to vote. I was describing what voting was for. Voting was for representation. It was never an exchange of value. And the reason why it was for representation is because we do vote on things that apply to everybody, like the laws, like public health, like elder care, like accessibility. These are all paid into those systems, and the people that they affect are the people who should be represented. Now, you can go ahead and say it's like, oh, well, you need to have skin in the game. If you live here and you are under the law, your skin is literally in the game. Literally, it's there. You exist here.
Is it,
It's in
though?
the game. Yeah, if you can get tossed in jail, if you have to abide by these laws, if you have to, pay these taxes, you don't freaking get a choice in the matter. Your skin, your livelihood, all of it. And if you have to go to the hospital, the county hospital, and they get a say on what tests you get, what medicine you get, and all that other bullshit like that, yeah, you absolutely get the right to say, hey, I think this is bullshit. I think this is what needs to happen. And that's not to say it's not going to happen. Everybody votes on what's good for them. That's not just the left. That's not the right. That is everybody. And that's why it was about representation and not about value.
Okay, so actually, I mean, I understand you don't want to have that position. I mean, you don't want to have me have this position, but it's absolutely exchange of value because I exchange force. I exchange the fact that I'm a man and can get a group of men and or women could in fact create great violence, and we exchange that violence in exchange for our vote. Women don't seem to understand this. I don't know why. I've never talked to a woman whereas most men understand this innately. I've never talked to a woman that's not argued with this fact. I don't know why. I don't need an education as to
So,
why. It just seems to be the fact of the matter is that again, most men innately understand that that the reason that they vote is so they don't have to fight and tribe up and war to get what we want. And so it's exactly an exchange of value. It's exactly an exchange of value for of authority, right? As far as skin in the game, you can't tell me that some jackass on welfare that's been on welfare their entire fucking life because they can't even get a damn job. They can't, and they don't want to get a job, has skin in the game, but they absolutely 100% will vote for the people who promise those things. This is a proven fact. I don't even have to go far to prove that as a fact, and you can't deny it as fact. Sure, the government controls our healthcare at this point. Why? It wasn't that way before. It is exactly that way because people voted for that against the best interest of society because they gained the right to vote, and they shouldn't have. Had they not had the right to vote, it wouldn't have gone that way, and our healthcare would be better for it. We see that we see that in the way things used to be. And I hate to do that. I hate to go there. But way back in the day, healthcare was far less expensive until we started voting year after year for more and more and more and more healthcare. I can't, there's absolutely there's no way you're ever going to get me to come over to the idea that everyone needs a vote
well, I
at
can
all.
definitely bring you over to make you see that it is very simply not an exchange of value because it very simply is not an exchange at all because there is no guarantee of any sort of return. Even if you do vote, there is no exchange of good, there is no paycheck, there is no outcome. You vote even when your side loses. That's not an exchange. That is called collective civil participation, which is why it's representative, not an exchange.
Okay. Is the fact that a group of men could band together and take a city by force, and yet instead they take, is that force, is that a value? Is there a
I mean,
value on that?
sure, there's a value, but that is
Right.
not why
Okay.
you have the right
And
to
that's why
vote.
it's a
And
value exchange.
it's
That's why
not
it's a
about,
value.
but when you vote, you don't get anything for it. You're not
Yes, I do.
guaranteed anything
Yes,
back,
I don't, I get the opportunity to express my
which
opinion.
is representative.
I get the opportunity to express my opinion about the way things should be, and I have agreed to not use force in exchange, which means there's a value in exchange for that vote. That's why there's a value exchange.
So now you get a value of a vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of this, I'm sorry, did you serve in the military or?
No, every man ever
Oh,
created
you're
is
talking about the
capable of
draft.
great violence. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're talking like draft. I mean, even then, like still there's other men who vote against you and you still
Sure.
don't get anything out
Sure.
of it. This is
Right. We
not
don't,
a value
but
exchange.
again,
This is an opinion.
you're trying to gloss past the fact that I have agreed. So Angel Berber and I, we disagree on water rights. Now I can go shoot him in the head, and now I don't have a disagreement. But as a society, we've agreed that we're going to vote. We exchange force
Mhm.
for the right to vote. That's why there's a value exchange. Now, if Angel Berber gets enough people to vote with him and defeats my vote, I've agreed to abide by that. That's the agreement that we have. That's the exchange. That's the value, is that I won't tribe up and
So what
go
else do you get?
kill all of Angel Berber's people.
I will actually concede that selective service is an exchange. However, I will bring in the contingency that it is actually for federal benefits in general, not just the vote, but for student loans, federal jobs, citizenships, all of those things. So that
But that
actually
has
does make
nothing
sense
to do
as
with
an
the point that I
exchange,
just made.
not the
That
vote.
you're bypassing the argument completely.
We're still talking about what voting is, and voting is about the representation. You're still over here saying people that are disabled
It's not
or
about
retired.
representation because you have no value to exchange.
It isn't an
Women
exchange at
aren't going
all.
to women are not going to tribe up and kill all the men.
It doesn't matter.
But it does matter.
It does not matter.
It
It
absolutely
has
matters.
nothing. Your force doctrine does not come into play when it comes to voting. They're
It
antithetical
absolutely
to
does.
each other. There was no exchange. It was the men that decided, hey, we probably don't want to be fighting each other all of the time to build society. And then
Right.
they
And
came up with
that's
the
why they
voting.
gained the right to vote. That's why
Oh, they
each
came
man
up with
got
it.
a vote.
Each man got a vote. Why?
Because they agreed to not kill each other.
Okay, kill each other. Why?
Because they were given the right to vote. That's a value exchange. You keep trying to wordsmith your way out of this, but you can't. It is a value exchange. Force has value.
Okay, force
That
has
the value
value. What
exchange,
value does the voting have? What did you get out of it?
we get the ability to not have to use force. We trade our force for the vote. When we vote, okay, then we agree to abide by the decision. Do you understand that? I mean, is that can I make it any clearer than that?
Right. It's still not a value exchange because you don't get your way. You're not guaranteed
we can do
to
the
get
same
your
thing
way.
with money. If you and this is why all votes have value regardless of whether or not you want to admit it. When we're talking about billions of dollars that the federal government spends, every single vote matters in the way that those funds are spent, and therefore every single vote has value, even if it isn't earned. Now, I'm not talking about force doctrine specifically. I'm talking about we are warlike creatures. The only thing that keeps a bunch of men in America from tribing up and take like Texas, for example, the only thing that keeps Texas from tearing ass all the way up through the Midwest into Canada and taking over and making Texas the greatest country on the planet is that they have, as men, decided that they're not going to do that, that they're going to vote. Now, if they voted, if somebody brought it up and said, hey, guys, I think we ought to tear ass up to Canada and fucking annex that shit, and enough people voted yes, that's what would happen because of that. Okay, it's a contract amongst society that we exchange our force for a vote. Now, women never did that. Women has never done that. They don't have a force doctrine. They were given the vote. They shouldn't have been, right? I'm not saying that women shouldn't vote if they somehow have some add value, but you're not going to you're regardless of that. I don't believe most men should vote either because they don't exchange value either. Well, I shouldn't say most men. Many men should not vote either because they don't add value either. They don't. They are a net loss, and they shouldn't vote. You should not be able to vote yourself things that others have created.
So I understand that you're saying that society, based on the fact that men didn't want to kill each other, the men decided that they were going to have these rules, and then they decide, okay, now we have the right to vote. To so that all of our voices are heard and we can do what's best for ourselves or each other, and that was called society. Now I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
when you say get off my lawn, how do you know what lawn is yours?
How do I know what lawn is mine?
Yes.
Well, I've paid for it.
Sure. How do you, but like if somebody says that's not your lawn, that's my lawn, how do you know which lawn is yours?
Well, hopefully there's a deed recorded somewhere.
Okay. And what will the deed say?
The deed will say that it's my lawn.
How will you know? It's a piece of paper. How will it do it?
Because men have agreed that that line on paper is meaningful.
Sure.
Just like
but
men could one day,
is,
one day men could decide that that line means nothing and take my land from me.
I understand. Let's just keep going through it. We're getting there.
Mhm.
So on the deed, what does it say? What does it give?
It doesn't give
Does it give
me
the
anything.
boundaries? Does it give the boundaries of your property? How do you know it's your lawn and not somebody else's?
It doesn't give me anything. It says that
Does
I
it
paid for
describe?
this.
No. Does it describe and assess and basically solidify where the boundaries of your property are?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Your boundaries, your right to say, get off my lawn, are the literal definition of what a right is.
Sure.
Everything has to have a ceiling. When somebody doesn't have a ceiling or a boundary that somebody else cannot cross, the other person is then basically more tyrannical and they could take over. If there is no piece of paper to describe the boundaries, somebody else who's more powerful than you, have more guns than you, could say, this isn't your property, this is my property. And you're right, that would go in accordance to society. However, the two men coming together and agreeing that this is a boundary, and the registrar and the, was it the notary who does, who does the
surveyor,
yeah, the surveyor, all of them deciding that these are in fact the boundaries, didn't actually have anything to do with force. This is the agreement, and nobody had to consider.
But again, okay, I'm this is going like too long. If I'm entitled this piece of land, the reason that I'm entitled that piece of land is at some point somebody fought over that land and force was used to gain it, and that has value, right? Force in and of itself has value. The fact that the government has any kind of input or control over it is voluntary. We voluntarily allow that to happen, right? The Indians did not voluntarily allow themselves to be moved off of land. They fought like hell. Right.
Okay,
I'm really not sure where you're going with the point, but I mean, property rights are not voting rights. Voting rights are very specific. It's an exchange of force for a vote, except when it comes to women who were just given it for no damn good reason. It was
not an exchange of force. It was an establishment of a boundary to say, you get an opinion. It's not an
establishment of a boundary.
I get an opinion.
Your vote is not an establishment of a boundary. Your vote is the promise that you will vote and that you will abide by that vote. Okay.
All right. Then we need a working definition for a vote between you and I.
Sorry?
We need a working definition for a vote between you and I, because we're going to keep talking past each other.
We're not talking past each other. You're trying to.
We literally disagree on what we literally disagree on what the vote is. You say it's an exchange of value, and I totally disagree with you. It is a representation.
It is. It represents value.
No, it represents
an exchange of value. Right?
There is no value.
How much money is spent every year?
What are you getting out of your vote? What are you getting out of your vote?
How much money is spent every year on military?
When you vote, what do you get out of it?
What do I get out of it?
Yeah. What do you get out of your vote? What value did you get out of your vote? You exchange something for your vote, and then you vote. Then what happens? What do you get out of it?
I exchange my vote for my voice. I'm able to do that.
And other people have a voice.
And if I decide not to vote, right? So here's the thing. In theory, all Americans agree to this, right? When you sign up to vote, when you register to vote, you agree that you're not going to, you abide by these rules. It's still, no matter how you want to frame it, it's still an exchange of force for a vote, for representation in the leadership, right? That's it. And without that, the vote's meaningless, which is why voting is meaningless now. Voting is meaningless. Like nobody, it doesn't matter. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but
So then why
it's just
shouldn't
it. I mean,
disabled
there's
and
you're
retired
all
people
you're
not
doing
have the right for it
is
if
you're
it's
talking about
meaningless?
boundaries. Boundaries literally define value, right? Like, how do we know what this is worth? Well, because these boundaries say that it's worth X amount. I don't understand how this is not resonating with you, except that you just really want it to be representative and apply to everyone when clearly it doesn't. Voting, not everyone should vote. We're the only country on the planet, I think, that allows everyone to vote, and I don't understand why. I keep trying to, and I used to just not care. And then I started kind of looking at how bad I was getting fucked over all the time by these horrible ass votes. Right? The whole reason our healthcare system is fucked up is because of people voting for more and more of that shit. The whole reason our education system's fucked up is because people voting for more and more of that shit. And what's going to happen, regardless of whether you and I can agree on this, and which is fine, what's going to happen is at some point, men are going to not see the value in their vote, the value exchange in their vote, and they're going to go back to, they're going to not exchange their force for vote. They're just going to exchange force for force. And that's what's going to happen. That's how that happens. A vote is a contract between the society and the government, that the government will provide, will honor their side of the vote, and the citizens will not revolt and take back their freedom, or whatever you want to look at it. So I mean, we can keep talking about all of this. We can talk around it in circles and all of that, and you can try and say that vote's representative and everybody should have it and all of that. But no, not everybody should have votes, and especially people who can vote themselves things for free, right? Like, I actually don't have a problem really with
CEOs
Elon
don't get
Musk.
themselves tax cuts for free. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah,
Everybody
I don't.
gives themselves
Hey, I'm
something for
fine.
free.
I'm fine. You know what? I'm fine with it. Like, I don't care. I literally, Elon Musk could vote. Elon Musk could do whatever the fuck he wants, as long as he was within the law, right? I mean, we have to be within the law. But I don't give a shit. He actually participates, but I don't think he does, and I don't think he can vote himself more, because he only has one vote. Doesn't have 100 votes. So, yeah. And he's
So
not
is it
trying to vote
because
himself $1
that
million.
disabled or elderly people may not have as much force that they should not have the right to vote? Is that your position?
I'm sorry?
You had stated that the right to vote is an exchange,
Mm-hmm.
or like
It has value.
it has value. And I mean, sure, I say it's representative. I say it's more about restraint than it is about
About
any kind of
restraint.
force. Yeah, it is.
Would that imply the use of force if you're using restraint?
I agree with you that basically instead of using force, they became, the vote was institutionalized to be civil. So it was the opposite of force. It was, we're not going to use force. And
Correct. That's
so like
exactly
we
right.
agree there. So I still see the vote as an active restraint in its energy, and that the people on either side of that boundary should be seen as equal. Now, when it comes to if disabled people and retired people should get the right to vote, I think that they can contribute to society just like a working person can, or just like a landowner can. It just might look a little bit different. You went into whether or not women should have the right to vote. I never spoke about women having the right to vote.
Yeah,
That's
I was
just kind of
picking on
is
all
what
of
it
the
is.
groups. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
want
get
to
you.
miss any on the way down.
I get you. But like that was specifically what I said. It was about the disabled and about the retired people,
Mhm.
and they can still contribute and add value to society. And that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily give them the right to vote. And voting wasn't necessarily about force, because we vote on things that are not about force at all, that still affect all of these people. So I don't think that.
I didn't say voting is about force. I said the right to vote comes from the exchange of
Sure.
force for
Okay.
the vote. This is maybe why the confusion you're having, because you've already admitted that that's true. And so
Well, that's just more of like society working. That's just like that even comes down to boundaries, rules, government, and everything. Everything was given up force for civilization. That's just,
right.
going back
Exactly.
as far as, but
Sure.
that doesn't mean that voting is a way of force, or that it is not a representation, or that it is an exchange of merit or value. We still have our monetary
Right.
economic system as our exchange of value. The
Sure.
voting was so that everybody was represented. Now,
Mhm.
um,
No, that is not true. Voting was never about everyone being represented. Don't slip that in there on the backside. Here's the deal. Voting has always been exclusive. It was only in what we consider modernity that voting became this equal rights thing, and everything became equal. We've never been equal in this country. Never, ever, not even one time. And it worked. And most countries, by the way, are not equal. There's a definite caste system in Japan, in China, in basically every single country in the world except here. And we're the ones with people trying to cut their penises off, for Christ's sake. Come on, this is dumb. Like, this is a bad argument to pick, because we are not winning with the way it is. We're losing. We're
well,
losing
let's go back to the
every day.
argument. The argument is whether or not disabled or retired people should have the right to vote. Your answer was
Right.
no. That has nothing to do with cutting
I
off
don't believe they
anybody's
should.
genitals.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't believe they should.
what I will give you is that, well, I won't even give it to you. I'll propose this, is that I don't necessarily think it's not even the people or their merit or their value that you don't like being imposed onto things. It is the information that these people are going off of that you don't like. Because our media is like toxic right now, and the
No, sure.
information
Yeah,
that
sure. I
people
mean,
are given
we could talk about
is
that.
putting us at odds with each other. Now, when you start taking away whole people like retired or disabled people, none of you should have the right to vote unless you quote unquote have skin in the game. Well, listen, the people on your side, the landowners, the business owners, and all that stuff
Mhm.
can still be getting that crappy information too. And you best believe that they do. And other crappy people pay for it too. So, what we are really at war about isn't even so much this person's merit to vote. We are at the information that everybody's getting and whether or not that is credible or not. I think that if the disabled people, if the women, if the retired people got the information that was more verifiable, that wasn't, I don't know, just what's the word I want to use?
You're making the uninformed versus informed voter argument.
Not even an uninformed, because like it's really hard to be informed right now. We
Hmm.
have so much
Right.
fraudulent media that it's so
I don't know
difficult
that
right
I'm going to.
now.
I'm
So
not.
I don't even think this should even be a conversation about whose quote unquote voting rights should be taken away. It should be a question of who's feeding the voters what information, and we should be monitoring that more closely.
So, it's a little bit there to walk back through. All right. So first of all, I'm very specific about that you need to have skin in the game, right?
Hmm.
Like, when we talk about people that are receiving disability, depending on why they're receiving disability, I don't have a problem with them voting, right? Like, I believe that if you served, if you were in public services, service guarantees citizenship, therefore you get the right to vote.
Hmm.
If you are an idiot who's on disability because you did meth, you don't get the right to vote. I'm sorry. It sucks, but that's the way it is. Um, and I mean, I appreciate the moving of the goalpost back closer to my side. I like it, but at the end of the day, I'm retired, but I'm still. I mean, technically, I'm still gainfully employed. I guess, really, and from my point of view, I honestly don't care who votes, as long as they're they've got skin in the game, and by that I mean that they are actually paying taxes, like they feel it when the economy, things happen, right? Like, they feel it when they build 3 new hospitals that they don't need to build. They feel it when we give away, countless programs of bullshit for people who could go out and earn it on their own, because they have to write that check at the end of the year. They don't get a check back, or they're like, they're like some of us that spent put $250,000 a year, or is stolen out of our paychecks, and we get 90 back. Right, like the government's so kind as to give us a few bucks back, but yeah, a matter of fact, I don't believe that the IRS should exist. I mean, we can go down a deep well with how fucked up I think the government is, but at the basis of it, I could see qualifiers, but again, by and large, I can say that, yeah, I don't necessarily think specific groups should vote without, now obviously there can be qualifiers. I can go with that. But voting has never been guaranteed. Voting has never been a right. I mean, it hasn't. It's not even.
It has been a right. It's
Constitution
just
that you
not a
get to vote.
guarantee that you get your way, which is why it can't be an exchange of value, because you're not guaranteed to get what you vote for.
Well, I get the opportunity though. See, the
so
value
you
is
get
that
voice.
I
So
get.
then you're saying other people
the
don't get a
value
voice.
is that the value is that I get my voice
Heard.
by voting.
Right.
That's the and
Gets to be
in
heard.
exchange for not burning the place down. I can't make it any simpler than that. And that's been that way for the last 200 years that we've been in existence. Okay, a little 200 and some odd years.
Give me a second. So
Agrippas, let me address Agrippas. See, now Agrippas is exactly what I'm talking about. 40, he's retired. I'm going to assume probably medically, raising 3 children and pay more taxes than 90% of the population. He's exactly the guy that should be voting, right? Because he's putting that skin in the game.
Oh, your position was that he shouldn't because he's retired. I gave you no details, and you were like, no.
Right? You didn't get. I said basically yes, but I can always give qualifiers. I also qualified immediately that service guarantees citizenship. So again, I immediately qualified from the very outset of this argument that if you had skin in the game, I'm okay with you voting. I'm not okay with people without skin in the game voting.
So if you showed up, I mean, obviously, if you retired, you worked at some point. Let's say you're disabled for something that isn't your fault. You don't get to vote, according to you? Let's say it's not meth. Let's say, it's a steel worker got, chopped up, had something fall on him or something like that. Now he can't work at all.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a medical disability.
And he should have his voice heard.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, he was a gainful member of. My problem really with the disabled people is like some specific people that I even know that are disabled because of their lifestyle, because of the way that they. I don't want to get too personal here.
Well, how many people do you think are on I guess getting on disability is hard. I don't know what you know about the process. It's awful.
I don't know. I'm kind of in that if you're, welfare shouldn't be buying you fudge rounds. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, what if they have some sort of crazy thing where they can?
I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know. They could have some sort of disease where they need to survive on sugar. I'm actually learning about a disease where you need salt, like a fiend.
Yeah, you have to have salt for sure.
Well, I mean, there's a weird disease where you need all the salt, and I'm like, what? You remember the freaking Men in Black Edgar guy?
I'm in that Starship Troopers mentality. I'm a big Heinlein fan. Service guarantees citizenship, and service obviously could take different measures, but I'm just telling you, I think that there's a lot of people who vote, and they vote not on issues, but just to simply make sure that they continue to receive the mass amount of free programs. Literally, the left and even some Republicans, to be honest with you, literally literally campaign on giveaway programs.
I mean, so do freaking rich people with their tax benefits. I don't know what your point is there. Like, everybody votes for free money. Like, when is that
But
new?
tax benefits are not free money. That you have to earn money
Oh,
to get
come
tax
on.
benefits.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
They will
how do you get?
stack
Okay, all
money.
right.
Okay,
This is
no,
gonna
no,
be
no,
good.
I'll give you a perfect
How do
example.
you
I'll give you
get
an
a
example.
tax benefit if you are not earning money?
Okay, how about the motherfuckers who buy debt for pennies on the dollar, don't collect it, sell it again, and then take a tax write-off for it for something that they never fucking had a value for anyway?
I have not heard of that, but that
It is
you should not be able to
wild.
sell you shouldn't be able to sell debt to begin with. I think
Oh, they
that
do.
there's some things there that there's some things that we have there's some things in the way that we've done again, people will vote themselves free shit, right? And this is one of those things that I agree
Exactly.
needs
Yeah.
to be I can absolutely I don't agree with people buying other people's debt. Like if you either discharge the debt or you suck it up and take the loss, right?
Yeah, and then they'll take the tax write-off with that and then write it off. And then, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they
freaking
lost
evil about
money.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
then they
lost
take more
money.
and then they start off the next year with whatever it is. I forgot what they call it. I don't know. I've been sitting up too long and my brain's leaking.
I don't know what you're saying, Arthur Dye. You're gonna have to speak English. But I bet I do. I don't know. I don't do tax loss harvesting. Honestly, I don't manipulate my taxes much, mainly because the IRS is just terrible to deal with. So I'm pretty straightforward, and I think most people should be. I think honestly, I very much I don't know anyone in business for any length of time that really fucks around with their taxes. It's just it's a losing game.
Oh, I need to lay down.
Sorry,
I have to lay down.
I still couldn't hear you.
Oh, I said I have to lay down.
Oh, you have to lay down. I'm sorry.
Hmm. No,
I
no, it's
overtired you.
yeah. I've been sitting up too long.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's this was actually good for me to do. I haven't
Okay.
like gotten to a nice linear argument conversation in a minute, and so
Yeah.
this was good. I missed
It was fun.
kinda debating. It was a good conversation. I think we're still at a draw though. I'm not anywhere near where you are, and I mean it's just not a value exchange to me at all. So
I understand that you don't think it is, but it is.
okay, well
Yeah.
we agree to disagree. I gotta jump down now. I need to lay down.
Arthur Dye, I do not have a managed account. Everyone say goodbye to Michelle. Oh, Michelle's already gone. Oh, she's back. Wait, where'd she go? She was there. I don't know. Anyway, I don't have a managed account. So I don't do tax loss harvesting. So, but again, I don't fuck around with the IRS. It's just a bad plan. It's a horrible idea to fuck around with the IRS. So, now, I mean, I'm sure people do, but I know too many people that have been audited for fucking nothing. Like, like literally cost them $10,000-$15,000 to defend themselves over nothing from the IRS. Yeah, the IRS has always had their own police force. Even the Joker doesn't mess with the IRS. Yeah, I don't fuck around with the IRS, man. The state, honestly, the state will fuck you up, especially over sales tax. If you're not turning in your sales tax like you should, or you're not keeping proper records and all that, the state, most states have no sense of humor about that, and they will fuck you up in a heartbeat. And it's all bad. I just don't fuck around with taxes. Yeah, I don't, and it's just not. Yeah, I understand it's completely legal, Arthur Diet. However, there are gray areas when it comes to that, and that's what gets people audited. And do not fuck around with your taxes. It's a bad idea. Any tips on how to get the amount of water you need every day? I have a water bottle. I just drink out of it all the time. This is actually, I'm actually have my steel tumbler full of ice water right now. Oh, before I forget about it, I've got to give you guys, I forgot completely. It's a public service announcement. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this, but if you haven't, every now and again, you're going to feel like that you need to rage. You need to spurg. You're unhappy. You just cannot believe that this dumbass on screen has said something, and you have a serious issue with it, and you just want to rage until no end. In that case, I assure you,
everyone does it. Now you can do it too. Shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. Shut up. Shut the hole in your face. Like that. You can do it. Shh. Shut up. And shut the fuck up.
all right, there we go. Yeah, there we go. I just want, just make sure that you understand. Flow State, I'm actually drinking this Liquid Death flavored water. It's pretty nice, actually. It's pretty good. So what was I going to say? Somebody asked something. I played in the gray area of racing. Why not taxes? Because they don't put you in prison. They don't put you in prison for like, I'll be honest with you, man. I used to kind of be one of those guys that like played a little bit with the and did some, I had my questionable ish deductions and shit. And I gotta tell you, I have watched a couple of my friends who did nothing wrong get pulled through the ringer by the IRS. And I'm not kidding. It costs like 10, 15 grand in legal fees and attorney fees and all accounting fees to prove that they didn't do anything wrong. To prove they didn't do anything wrong. And the IRS just says, okay, our bad. No problem. We're sorry. Walked out the fucking door. 10 or 15 fucking $1,000 to prove you didn't do anything wrong. That's nuts. So don't fuck around with the IRS. It's just a bad, bad deal. And it's crazy, crazy stuff. And now I personally ran afoul of the local tax, sales tax board, and they didn't believe that I was a labor only. That basically I sold almost no parts. Like I only paid $10,000 a year or so in sales tax to the county or the city, and they were like, "Well, you do all this business." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's all labor. Like we'll charge tax on labor," and they just would not believe it. And dude, it was ugly. Like the city and the state will come after you hardcore, man. Like it's tough. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So yeah, it's just one of those things. That was actually really good. I really don't understand how Michelle doesn't really. I mean, I know Michelle understands it. She just doesn't want to deal with it about the value, the force. That a vote is a basically a coupon to prevent the use of force. So, Jack M. Sheridan, it's not that you will learn that the government is against you. is that you will learn that the government knows who the fuck you are and knows everything about your life. Like, it is crazy. It is crazy how much the government knows about you. And if you want to find out, run afoul of the IRS. They will tear you up. And it's nuts. Like, just don't do it. Don't fuck around with the IRS. Arthur Dye, how much are you paying in taxes these days? I bet you're paying a pretty good chunk in taxes. I bet you're hurting right now. I bet right about now. Yeah, right about now you're like, that still hurts. I had to write that big ass check. Yeah, Flo's right. The government has unlimited funds to fuck with you. And by the way, they're using your money to fuck you up. Doesn't that really get you to realize that the government is using your money and your neighbor's money and your other neighbor's money and your dad's money and your wife's money and your kids' money. They're using everybody's money to fuck you up. Doesn't that piss you off? That's the dumb. I mean, holy shit. That's so bad. $280K in taxes. Dang. Somebody made almost $1 million this year. That's what's up. Arthur Daya, high value, high net worth. Yeah, the reason why, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's not even about the selective service thing, you know. I shouldn't have to pay for the sheriffs to come steal from me. That's right. Yeah, that's true. I did not knock you out. Whatever. Yeah. It does hurt. It stings so bad once you realize that you're being sued with your own money. It just does. I don't know who. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it. Like, it's crazy. But that's honestly one of the reasons why I don't play games with the IRS. It's just a bad idea. So I'm going to end the show a little bit earlier today, guys, because I've got some things to do. We're going to probably wrap up in about a half an hour. If somebody wants to jump up on the stage real quick and have a chat or something, that'll be cool. But I'm going to end right around 2:00 instead of 3:00 today. I've got my debate at 5:00. I need to tidy some stuff up on. I've got some other stuff that needs to get done around the house. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We got a lot of stuff to do. Yeah, but it's going to be. I got a half an hour. I'm just prepping everybody that got stuff to do. So yeah. 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 That's actually correct, Emmett. Pay me so I can sue you because you are not paying me how I like it or as much as I want. That sums up the IRS like that. That's flawless. That's flawless. I gotta do the vacuuming. I don't actually do the vacuuming. I don't do that. Sometimes, not often. So, Flow State, you want to jump up for a couple of minutes and talk shit or what? Emmett may already be drinking. I don't think so. Emmett's probably just chill. I have to wait about 5 or 10. I want to wait. What the fuck's up with that? I'm an instant dude. Supreme Court. Yeah, I've been watching that a little bit. What do you think about that, Mr. Mister? What's up? Where are you at on that? Also, who asked me about Qatar? I think Qatar should be in. I think you're going to see a lot of investment here. So. Lindsay, you're so lucky you weren't here earlier. Curse Zero. Wait, I don't. You have to go to Discord. Curse Zero. If you want to come up, you got to go to the Discord. Go to the waiting room, and I'll and wave, and I will. I'll be looking for you to drop you the link. Triple B server. All right, I'll do that. Let's see, where the fuck is the main chat? There we go. There we go. Got you right there. Yeah, you can come up for a minute. That's fine. He didn't take the plane from Qatar, Arthur Dye. He thanked them nicely, and then he said he's not going to use it. So. There you are. What's up?
Okay, it's working. What's up, man?
How are you?
Oh, I just exist, bro. I wanted to come up. I didn't want it to actually. Oh, let me mute this over here. I realize I have an echo. I didn't actually want to seem like I was starting stuff in the chat. I was just throwing down information, such as really highly intelligent people during the French Revolution found out that all voting systems are rigged.
I mean, it's hard not. I mean, it's hard not to kind of have that opinion. I don't know that they're actually rigged, but I'm okay with. I'm okay for the most part with our voting system, except that it's just who gets to vote. That's the biggest problem, right? So I don't know. There's a real
that was
problem.
Opinion, and I understand.
There's a real problem with the way that we. There's a real problem with the way that we have allowed the government to get so large, and that's and again, this was not a problem until it became a real problem, and now it's like I don't even know what we're going to do.
People have given up this false sense of freedom for a false sense of security, and that's legitimately what's going on here.
I mean.
Because you actually don't own anything. Your birth certificate proves that you are an asset to your country that backs up the resources and revenue of that country. That's literally what your birth certificate is. This is modern day slavery, but I can't show something to people who don't have the eyes to see it.
I mean, I'm not much of a conspiracy theory and all of that. I just kind of get into that.
Not theory, it's obvious.
Yeah.
A lot of it's right in front of your face. Like I said, I can't show something to somebody that doesn't have the eyes to see it. And I do apologize for interrupting you, sir.
That's all right. I mean, it's just there's a reason the country became the greatest country in the world, and now what's really interesting is the same people that say this is good. I'm sorry.
Once again, what does make us the greatest country in the world?
Well, what made us the greatest country in the world is that we were largely self-sufficient. We didn't need anyone. We didn't care about anyone else. Pre 1930, really 1913. A good argument can be made for 1913, but pre 1940, we didn't give a fuck, and we didn't even want to go into World War II. Like the American people are like, no, fuck it. That's Europe's war. Fuck those guys. We already fought World War I, and we didn't like it then, and we don't want to go back. And it was FDR's manipulation that got us into that. And when we came out of that, the generals and various politicians decided that we were going to become the world police. And once that happened, then we became interventionist. And once we became interventionist, now, you know, we keep saying that we're the greatest country on the earth, but are we really? I don't know. Maybe still.
And
I think
that's
so.
also based off of opinion, which you can agree with that statement.
No,
correct?
it's pretty much fucking fact. It's not opinion. But
So
pre
it's based off of
1940,
majority
pre 1940, we
consensus,
had
therefore it is
almost
opinion.
no unemployment. We were building anything we wanted to build. You know, it was a pretty good country
So
before we decided to
that's
fuck around in
according
World War
to
II.
individuals that think those things are important. So therefore, it's majority opinion. So therefore, it's still opinion.
Well, I think it's a matter of metrics, not opinion, just metrics.
It's what you're measuring between which measuring stick, depending on how you value things.
Yeah.
So therefore,
I mean,
it's
I
still
think
opinion.
most people value a good life. I don't know. What do you think, Flo?
I mean, I think objectively he's right. At best is an opinion metric.
Yeah, best for sure is an opinion metric, but we can certainly say that the overall ability of the country was probably better than it is now. Maybe.
Yes, I would agree. So I
Argumentatively.
think pre-Federal Reserve.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what we did.
The Witch of Wall Street in the chat. The female who created the nickel.
What?
Yeah, most people don't even know who the Witch of Wall Street is. It is a female who created the reason why we have a nickel, and she did it in like the 1800s or something.
Are you?
Women were
You're talking about? I cannot remember that chick's name now. But she was pretty awesome. She owned a bunch of different businesses, and she was involved in banking.
To go, Hetty Green.
Yeah, Hetty Green.
Hetty
That's
Green.
it. Yeah. And she actually bailed out Wall Street. She loaned the banks money when they went broke. I mean, they only called her the Witch of Wall Street because she wore the same black dress all the time.
But she did create the reason why Americans have the nickel.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I just happen to know
What's the nickel
that
have to do with anything?
Yeah, she was just badass. Like,
that's
more
just
women
one
should
of
be
her
like her.
credentials to be a badass female in those days. That's all I'm stating.
Yeah, I refute feminists all the time with that. With the rhetoric of only in modernity have women been able to excel, which was it's total horseshit. Hetty Green proves otherwise, and she was a badass. I mean, she was still a very traditional woman. She was married. She had kids. She inherited a good chunk of her wealth, but she didn't go to school. She learned bookkeeping and business from her father. So she basically carried on her father's tradition. And then when she got married, she married a man who was in business and learned more and actually bailed his ass out. I mean, it's a very interesting story. If you read the whole thing, it's really, really interesting how she became a part of that.
I think it's interesting they've been able to convince women that going and getting a job is freedom. Whereas
I see that's really what it is. That's the most important thing, right? Like you have Hetty Green who did what she loved and still had a family and and was still, technically a fairly for the time, I wouldn't say traditional, but for the time she was just more or less normal, right? But we have now convinced all women, all of them, that they need to go work and be a wave slave in a cage, 5 days a week to have value, which is absolutely fucking insane.
I'd like to extend my gratitude for my time up here. I'll call you Grid right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll leave out with something. Insanity is doing a repeated action expecting a different result. But if you're doing a repeated action expecting the same result, that's merely scientific experimentation. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, man. Thanks for coming up. Yeah, Flo, dude, I can't even believe I can't believe that it was so easy for feminism to convince women that they should be more or less men. Like that's
right.
It's nuts. Like that's crazy, man.
Well,
Now we probably think that for different reasons, but it's still we come to the same conclusion.
I read somewhere recently that there was more women who were anti-suffrage than pro-suffrage.
That's right. That's the actual history of it is when Rockefeller and the robber barons, you know, they wanted that they wanted women to have the right to vote, so they influenced men to give women the right to vote.
Right.
And to say that it was not, what's interesting is they'll sit there and say, well, it wasn't about getting women into factories to work. They'll say that all the time. Oh no, that's not why it was. But that's exactly what it was. They needed more laborers. They wanted women to be able to work outside the home, and they needed, you know, to kind of undermine the role of the men so that they would be more concerned with what was going on at home and just survive at work, right? And not question what was going on in their job. And they needed the job, right? Because once these women were expecting more and more and more, men had to work harder and harder and harder to provide. So it's an interesting period of time in history to like look at from various angles. Really is.
It just shows to me that how many stupid people there are. Like if you can get convinced that having two people working is more freedom than having one person working for the same lifestyle, it's crazy. I also, if I remember correctly, I do remember correctly. I guess if it's still the case, a few years ago, I know that men were more in favor of abortion than women were, which makes sense. We don't have to have the abortions; we just get the risk-free sex.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty. You know, even the idea of the shotgun wedding, right, was like, you know, dude, you were taking responsibility for your actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that is seen as like this horrible thing to put the woman through.
Like, a shotgun wedding is?
Huh?
A shotgun wedding is? I don't know that I've seen that sentiment.
Yeah, I saw this. I'm sorry, man. I'm getting distracted.
You're good.
I saw this meme not long ago. I'll try and find it and send it to you because it's pretty fucking hilarious. And basically it was that the shotgun wedding was forcing this poor girl to marry someone she didn't want to marry, even though she fucked him and now, you know, she's probably knocked up. Right. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. That's not how it was forcing the man to be responsible and, you know, take responsibility for deflowering this girl. Right. So,
yeah. I suppose it could be an imposition either way, depending on the specifics of the person, but I don't know. I can see the utility in shotgun marriage, but
you can see the utility in it. Yeah.
I can see how there's utility there. That said, we weren't married when my daughter was born, and we didn't get married until she was probably 1.5 years old or 2. No, she's probably 1. Yeah. So I personally, I'll be kind of a hypocrite. I see the value, but I'm not playing ball.
I think what's interesting is that, like, I got married, and I was married 5 years before we had kids. And part of that was just on purpose because we wanted to travel, we wanted to have a life, right? And we had a little time. My wife was relatively young, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, why do we just instantly, get into that? Which I think maybe I was wrong for doing that, but
when you started having kids, did you intend to, like, okay, now we want to have a kid, or was that?
It was kind of like we weren't like, we wanted kids. We weren't really like trying. We were in that weird.
You just weren't really taking all the preventative measures.
No, none at all. Zero.
Right.
Like we're like, hey, what happens. right? And so, you know,
Yeah, I think that it's a good thing that God or nature or whatever it is took having children and made it something that you don't have to intentionally decide. Because if you don't have kids, making the case for somebody to have kids is a pretty hard sell, right? Because the value in having a kid is something that's really not easily explained.
Mm-hmm. Can you read this one, Flo? This one's great. This one's for you.
I like Flo. He reminds me of all the friends I stopped talking to 20 years ago because I didn't want to go to jail. And now look at where you are. You're back full circle, and you're probably going to go to
You're
jail
listening to
soon.
the guy who's going to get you into jail.
You're probably going to go to jail soon. Luckily, if it's in Kansas, I know a bail bondsman. He'll travel. He'll travel on Sundays. This guy came and bailed me out of jail on a Sunday.
Sunday.
On a Sunday, and then took me to my house so that I could write him a personal check. I'm in good with the bail bondsman here.
He's in good with the bail bondsman. There you go.
Anywhere else, you better get with
go.
Orthodia soon so that she can use her doctor money to save you.
There you go. Yeah, doctor lady.
$280,000 is a hell of a tax bill.
I've been there. I paid a lot.
I've never been there. I suppose it's a good problem to have.
You think it is, but you have to. So you do your taxes and you realize that the government just took over $250,000 from you. Now I'm fortunate, I've got 2 kids. We get the tax credits, and I've got some business stuff. But even with maximum deductions, I get 90 grand back. Right. But I still paid 250. Okay. Like it's not square. Right. Like it's terrible. It's just not, it's not good, man. It's not good.
I do my own taxes. I'm pretty familiar with and I basically always have.
Yeah.
They're weird enough now though that I probably, because I've got investment. Like I've got stocks and, and I do this stuff. It's all getting a little wonkier than just when you're doing W-2.
Yeah. Yeah. We're entering into a whole new realm here because we're basically, we have an investment fund.
You sidestepped the song.
What's that?
A whole new world.
No, I don't. No, no. No. Looks like JS Urban Adventures rated us. That's cool.
Shout out to JS.
Thought that guy didn't like me. That's all right. That's cool. Maybe it's you. Maybe he's just rating you, and
I'm not.
What are you even doing up at this time of the day? What's going on there?
I don't know. Katie woke me up early.
No, I figured you'd be in full hibernation right now.
I normally am. Actually, now's about the time I normally start waking up, but I've been up for an hour.
Yeah, you seem pretty composed. So.
I'm probably a little tired still. The day people haven't started pissing me off yet.
That's what it is. So we've got. So my taxes used to be pretty straightforward because I had 4 businesses, but they were all the same kind of business, and basically it was just the same thing over and over and over, right? And so that was fine. It was easy. Now we have an investment fund that's different. And then we have the rental properties, which in the state of Tennessee, I don't claim income from rentals as income. As long as I haven't incorporated them. Right. And that's basically a trade-off for the protection of the LLC versus, not having to pay taxes. And I have this, which isn't making really enough to talk much about, but it's still money, still got to be accounted for. And then I've got
also you can do one of the first channels I ever made was with the express intent of losing money at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This was well before I got involved in any sort of live shit at all. It was when I was still doing a lot of gun tinkering, and so
Okay.
you'll order parts, and then maybe I don't
Right.
like it's something you saw online, and maybe I don't like this, so then I sell it on eBay or whatever, or I don't. But either way, those are expensive little parts that you can deduct if I do a review on them. Was my thought. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
throw up
Yeah.
a review, and then my YouTube channel is losing money. But then shortly that year, I got raided, and I ended up having a disaster of a year, anyways. So I didn't ever use it.
Yeah. Yeah. I could probably do some stuff like that, but again, I don't really play around with the IRS, man. Like I have a really good friend of mine, and he's an insurance guy, right? So he sells insurance and home, auto, all that crap. And he made pretty good money a couple of years, and I don't know what triggered it, but he had a full-on IRS investigation, full audit, had to go to court. It cost him like 15 grand to prove that he didn't do anything wrong. They never even said specifically what they thought he did wrong.
They just said, "Let us see your shit."
Yeah, they said, "Let us see your shit," and then they said, "Okay, there's some irregularities in your taxes, and then we're gonna have a hearing such and such a day," and it was just like it was crazy, and it almost put the guy into bankruptcy, right? Like he didn't have 15 grand laying
Was
around; he had to sell
He
some
must.
shit.
How much? Like, what did he do, or what industry do you work in? I
Into
tend to think
insurance.
that. Oh, right. You just said that.
Yeah, he sold
Was
insurance.
he? So he must have just been He must not have been particularly wealthy.
No. He was like he worked for somebody else. He didn't have his own deal. I think he
I
does
just
now.
assume that the IRS doesn't fuck with anybody unless they're wealthy.
See, I used to think that too, but I think there's a sweet spot. It's like it used to be. I used to think it was like between $50,000 and $75,000 a year, which is not wealthy, but it's not you're not struggling either. And there's like this sweet spot where they just want to fuck with you.
Hmm.
And I don't know.
Shit.
It's
I
pretty
bet I'm in
fucked
that
up.
sweet spot.
You're in a sweet spot. Yeah. It's pretty bad. And I don't know what triggered it. We still don't know what triggered it. I could probably ask him and see if his lawyer ever found out. But he had to go out and get a lawyer. He had to go out and get, a bunch of now he had spent a lot of money on stuff, and there were some things where he would buy a car and then he would sell it and
Hmm.
Stuff like that. There was a lot of like money going in and out of his account. And some wire transfers and things like that. So I don't know specifically what triggered it, but he ended up. So he had a couple of really decent, not like classics or anything, but just some cool cars. I think he had like an old, or not old, but I mean it's old now. But like he had a 350Z that was really cool. He had fixed up pretty well, and he had some other stuff. He had to get rid of all of it. Shit, like he had to cough up 15 grand in about 6 months.
My parents they like going to auctions, estate sales and stuff, but they got a bunch of rock memorabilia, like autographed Jimi Hendrix albums and stuff from a sale from a doctor who had the IRS come after him. And they just liquidated his shit, and when the IRS liquidates your stuff, they're not going to get the money out of it that it's probably worth. They're just going to sell it for what they can get for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, when I buy this company, right? So this company that I'm buying right now, it's going to get real complex because it makes.
What is it?
So it does commercial glass. So
That's what I used to do, and then I got raided.
Really? No, come on, that's funny. It was so it like glass and doors in schools, shopping malls.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. So it's about a $3.6 million deal, and there's some there's some financial mechanisms there that we've put in place. Like the day we take over the business, so I don't know if I should say this publicly, but I doubt that anybody that matters is watching. It doesn't really matter anyway. It's already done. So when we set up the SBA, they expect us to ask for operating capital. So we're getting the day the loan closes, our account is will be funded $250,000. They'll pay off the business, right? Or the business loan. They'll pay off the seller, but they also fund us $250,000
for operating expenses.
for operating. They just expect you to do that. If you don't do it, it's weird to them. And the other thing we're doing is there's obviously accounts receivable for the business. It's operating right now. There's accounts receivable. We're taking $300,000 of the account receivable. So the day that we take over, I write a check. I'm going to end up writing a check for about $250,000, but I'm going to be funded. Well, actually, probably not that much. Probably $200,000, but I'll be funded back almost $800,000. So pretty good. It's cool.
Yeah.
And so I have $500,000 more or less liquid. And then there's $4 million.
I expect some super chats that day.
Huh? Yeah.
I expect some super chats that day.
Expects. and so there's $4 million in work already booked for this year. That'll be our work now. So that's a pretty good deal. So that's going to make the tax situation kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, good problems to have.
Also, I guess so. I just need, and hopefully I have enough write-offs that I can make something happen. But
I still think that the dream job would be to own storage units.
I used to think that too, but I got to tell you, man, the storage unit, I have a small storage locker, and it has changed hands so many times.
Really?
That and it just keeps getting bought, and the current owner has raised the rates so much. I actually moved out, and then I went by there the other day, and it is like fucking a wasteland over there.
Really?
And I'm sure it's because dude, there used to be, like, they have outside parking like they all do, and it used to be packed, boats, RVs, trailers, all that kind of stuff. Well, so, I mean, obviously this is strictly anecdotal and just my own personal experience, but I mean, they raised the rent on me like every 3 months, every 6 months. I think it was 6 months. Every 6 months, it was you were going to get a $50 to $100 increase in your rent. And I'm like, why? Like, what the fuck? And I'm sure that it's like an auto increase thing that they just put it in a software. And yeah,
that's why it seems like such a sweet deal. How long did you have it for? I mean,
I kept it for like 6 months. The first time that they hit that $100 increase, I was like, fuck that, I'm out. Like, I don't need it that bad. I have a warehouse, but I was using it for like overflow shit.
Oh, people get these storage units and then they just never stop paying on them until they just abandon them.
Right.
And then you auction. So it's got all the benefits of being a landlord with none of the headache of having tenants' rights.
Yeah.
How I view it. But
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Everything is more complicated once you actually try it than it seems
right.
to be conceptually when you're looking at it from the outside.
I mean, I'm sure it's still, I mean, I don't know, because I haven't driven by. I mean, I guess it's been a couple of weeks since I drove by there, but the last time I drove by there, it seemed like there were a lot less locks on doors, so I don't know. I thought it would be cool too. And I have an eighth of an acre. I have 8/10 of an acre, and I could probably put 10, 15,000 square feet of mini warehouses out there and I could even do a double decker, but I just haven't done it because it's like, I don't know. It seems like you have all of the advantages of being a landlord with the disadvantage of having people like store, toxic shit in your place. And, oh dude, when I was in California, there were people that lived in them because they had power in all the units. So you had a light and a light switch. And so there were people that would live in the storage units that had like
yeah.
almost so they had to be in by 10 o'clock, and then they couldn't leave until 6. So because that's when the computer shut the locks off. And I remember going into that storage unit when we were moving. I moved all of the stuff out of the house into the storage unit. I used to drive through there. I used to literally see a guy sitting in front of the storage unit, sitting in a fucking lawn chair, just watching people go by. It's like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. Like,
when I first started working in concrete, I was living close to another precast facility that made manholes and stuff. It was one that I wasn't working at, but I went over there. Their yard where they'd put the inventory was just sort of open and right off the road. So yeah. I just started in concrete, and I was learning. I was becoming the QC manager, and so I'm just kind of poking around this place in my neighborhood, just like looking at their products, so that I had a reference point for what I was seeing. And it took me about 5 minutes to realize that this was also a homeless camp, and I was surrounded by people who were like in these culverts, like trying to hide from me and shit. And
it's like the hills have eyes.
Yeah, it was kind of unsettling to realize. I thought it was a weekend. I thought I was alone. I was just kind of bopping around, whatever, humming, being a douchebag.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, I'm surrounded by people hiding from me.
That's crazy, man. JS Urban Adventure says he had homies who lived in a storage unit until they had 2 of them next to each other and cut a doorway into the wall. What the fuck? That's what you get into when you own a storage unit. Yeah, these guys in California, I talked to somebody about it, and they would go to the gym and take a shower, go to work, fuck around all afternoon, go out to eat, come back to the storage unit like they just needed to check some shit, and then they would just pull their car in, go to bed. Like, what the fuck? So that was eye-opening. And then did you ever read you probably didn't, but did you ever read the article about the guy who worked at Google that lived in the parking lot?
No.
This is some straight up flow state shit right here. So he graduates college in like Ohio or somewhere fucking cold. He gets a job at Google. So he comes out and he's got this like $70,000 signing bonus to go to Google. And he starts looking for apartments, and he realizes that he can't afford shit. He thinks he can buy a nice place, and he's like, I can't afford shit. And so he went and bought a U-Haul truck, an old U-Haul truck, put a fucking folding cot or some shit in it, mattress, whatever, and a lamp, and he lived in that. He would sleep in that. He would get up. Google's campus has a gym, has showers, has a cafeteria. He charges his phone, and when he's at work, he's like, and he's never late because he just like rolls out of bed and goes to work.
Have you ever been in a U-Haul with the door shut? Those things are stuffy. That would be terrible.
I'm sure he had to do something to like ventilate it or whatever. But and they actually wrote an art, and apparently Google's like, yeah, whatever, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to be mad at that? That's a devoted employee right there.
Right.
You do your thing.
And he paid off his student loans. He used the $70,000 to pay. Most of the $70,000 went towards his student loans, and I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
I bet that dude is more successful right now than all his coworkers.
He probably is. He's probably he's probably fucking like shift leader at Google or some shit. I don't know what the fuck that is.
I'm not even hiring people, and I'd hire him if I found him right now.
Right. Yeah, it's a great article, man. But he lived in the parking lot at Google, and he watched TV on. And, there's free Wi-Fi. It's Google. It's fucking free Wi-Fi, and he just sit there, and at night, and he's like watching TV on his laptop, and then he'd go in, charge his laptop all day.
Speaking of hiring, what's Rob doing for Andrew? Do you know?
Mostly I think like debate prep, research, that kind of stuff. Andrew's been doing so many debates that I don't think he could actually like keep up with the debate prep that he needs to debate. I mean, because he's debating some pretty sharp people. So I have a debate with Econoboy today.
Econoboy. I don't think I know him. I heard you mention that. The name kind of stuck in my head.
He's a destiny orbiter. He's debated Rob Noor. He's debated Andrew Wilson. He's debated a bunch of people. The problem is he either is so like not milquetoast, but he's just sort of so laid back that nobody gives a shit, or he spurgs. There's no like real in between. Yeah, there's no like real in between.
So have you done your debate research? Do you know what his triggers are?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been able to find his triggers, but Rob Noor and I were talking about. I mean, I went through the debate prep with Rob Noor when I was driving back from New York on Monday or whenever the fuck it was, and so I talked with Rob Noor about it, and then we got a pretty good strategy. It's capitalism versus socialism, so that's a pretty easy one for me to win. Since his version of socialism depends on capitalism to work.
Yeah, I can't figure out how anybody is a socialist at all. It doesn't work on a practical level. It doesn't work on a psychological level. It doesn't work on a philosophical level.
So positionally, where I think Econoboy falls is he is not a true socialist. He doesn't believe in the government owning the means of production. And he doesn't, so he
just wants rich people's money.
He just wants social programs, right? And he believes that Social Security has been a great success, which I am going to disabuse him of that notion, because I think Social Security, since its inception, has been a glowing L in the sky of America. But at any rate, he points to these social programs, and he has all of these solutions, and most of them are exactly, well, the rich need to give more. And he has this, and I'm 90% sure, Econoboy, if you're watching this, just a heads up, I'm 90% sure that what he's going to do is he's going to do that same shit that because I think Nonfon's copying Econoboy on this, where the socialists now say, I'm okay with private industry and privately owned industry. I'm a fan of capitalism, but what we need is we can't have these billionaires running rampant and making all the money and not being taxed appropriately. And so it's okay if Flow State, for example, owns a tire shop. That's okay, as long as once he makes 20% profit in a year, we just tax him, maybe a lot more on anything over 25% profit.
What's the same strategy they've been using for gun? Nobody wants to take your guns away.
Right. It's the same.
Still want you to have a single shot 20 gauge.
Yeah. Just have a double barrel. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And so I think he's going to go there, which obviously there's several different attack points there. And I think he's expecting a really esoteric meta argument, and I'm just going to drag him down where I live in the mud and beat him. I'm a brawler. I'm not going to sit here and wax philosophical for 4 fucking hours.
Right. I'm sort of under the belief that if you have to take your argument, and if your argument is that derivative from reality, Jay Dyer, then you're wrong.
Right. Well, I just think that you should be able to articulate your argument without referencing, Nice's book on socialist. You should be able to.
At this point, we've got enough evidence of where we've tried socialism and socialistic.
Well, now he will point obviously to the northern, not northern, Iceland, Iceland.
I know what you're talking about. The top part of Europe.
Yeah. The Norway, Denmark, all of that, Scandinavia. He's gonna point to the Scandinavian societies as ideal socialist because they do these exact programs, right? Where I think it's Finland maybe where Flow State owns an oil factory, but once they pump out so much oil, then the government takes a huge percentage of the profits. But the problem with that is that is not true social. That's not a socialist program so much as it is a. It's not so much a socialist program as it's a fuck. I'm having brain damage today. As a mineral rights argument, in that the country of Finland believes they own the minerals underneath the soil, and therefore they're allowing you to profit from their raw materials. I believe is the way that they're going to attack, or that's I believe and I'll look that up, the Scandinavian viewpoint on it. But
don't those countries also have really restrictive immigration policies?
Exceedingly restrictive immigration policies. They're very homogeneous, homogenic. They're very and yet, sure, absolutely, they have great health care, but they also have very small populations comparative to anywhere else on the planet. Mm-hmm. And it's very it's very it's not so much socialism as it's just neighborly, right? It's more cohesive, right?
That model doesn't scale, right? So you have socialism within a family, but I don't care about somebody in Wisconsin the same way I care about my daughter, and it just will never be that way.
Right. And we can look at that when we look at Venezuela, right? So if we want to look at Finland as a successful model, let's look at Venezuela as a more realistic model, where you don't have a homogenous society, right? You had an authoritative government come into power. They literally took the means of production over, pure socialism. Then they fucked everything up, killed a bunch of people, and basically burned what was a thriving economy into the ground. So, so there's that. And actually, JS Urban Adventures is right. Scandinavia doesn't have a standing military. They don't have a navy. They don't have an air force. And they don't need one because they have treaties with America to provide that force factor. And we shouldn't be doing that. And that's one of the reasons why they can afford to tax their society 40%. Right. So, yeah. They also eat less than us. They're not Americans, and that model doesn't scale to America. Right. It just doesn't. It's literally like saying that we all ought to emulate the Chinese version of where everybody wants to be in business with the government, and profit is king, and we just don't care about, we don't really care about much else. Right.
I mean, that's where we're at, right?
Almost.
Can you have anything more than limited regional success if you don't have government contracts in America?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can.
You think that you can have a big, thriving national or global company without having a government contract?
Yeah, I think so. It's tough. I say it's tough, but it depends on what we're talking about. I don't think that you can. I think the thing is once you get so big, the government comes looking for you, right? And just for example, this company that I'm about to buy, they're one of the larger companies in the area. They're not the largest manpower wise, but they're, as far as volume of work and how quickly they get things done and all of that, they're a player. And so when they start doing, so when the local government starts wanting to build schools, like the company's one of the first places they stop. Like,
have you ever been involved in a school building project?
I've been restoration.
They put it's interesting working on government buildings like schools, especially versus private commercial buildings, because the amount of structural, just cosmetic bling bling that architects build into public money buildings is wild. They'll put all the bells and whistles and stuff into this that no architect nobody would ever pay for this sort of like brick layout, for instance, is on one building. One building we had 17 different types of inlaid brick.
I mean, one of the biggest contracts we have is for a school, and I say we because I'm about to buy it. One of the biggest contracts coming up is $1.3 million, and it's a school, and it's literally all the glass in a school, and it is a massive amount of doors and glass. Like every single classroom door, every single window in the place, whether it's, every mirror, it's all going to be, and it's $1.3 million is the contract.
Yeah. Nobody would ever pay for that with their own money.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not true. There's a couple of malls that do it, but I think once you get to be so big, the government comes to you because you can handle the volume, and they're, obviously people want those contracts because they pay well. Right?
Yeah. Your margins on government work is higher than your margins on private work. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But again, I don't think that you have to have that government work, but it's almost unavoidable once you get to a specific size, because they're going to come looking for you. They're going because you can handle the job. You can do
it's the biggest employer on earth, I believe. Is
it
the
is?
federal
Yeah, I think
government.
it is. Yeah, I think it is. And so, and my base argument, and I don't mind sharing this, even if Econoboy is watching right now. My base argument is going to be that no matter what he appeals to for his version of socialism or social programs, none of it can exist without capitalism. And the more capitalism we have, the more social programs we can have. And therefore, he should be the biggest capitalist on the fucking planet.
So my question would be, if your government is the biggest employer on earth, can you really call yourself a capitalistic society? At that point, it seems like by default, you're leading closer towards socialism or fascism economically than you are towards.
Well, certainly that's a good argument. I don't know that you can say it's social. I think it's neo-fascism. I do. I think it's closer to fascism.
I agree. I think I think that we are living in a fascist society.
Yeah,
economically.
Who I think it was Anson last night said it's an econo-fascist society.
I agree.
Because it's not socialism, right? The government doesn't own the means of production. The government doesn't want to own the means of production. They don't own private, you can have private property. You have property rights. So the only system that really it's not truly socialist, right? Because they're taking tax dollars to fund these projects, and they're never ending, and all of that. So,
I was using the phrase sort of loosely. I do definitely think that it's got a lot more to do with fascism than technically. Yeah. I would agree that we're economically fascist.
Yeah, I think it's as close as you can get to. If you feel the need to define it, I think it's far closer to fascism.
That's such a loaded word now, though, emotionally.
I know it is, but it's the truth. I mean, and we have to deal in the truth. Right? You can call it socialism all you want. That doesn't make it what it is, right? And again, it all relies on capitalism. It all relies on you, Flo, wanting to be in business to make more money, to buy yourself more things, to build something, to employ people maybe one day. And all of it relies on you being a great capitalist. Otherwise, the whole system is fucked. And socialism cannot survive without capitalism. And that's the beauty of the Chinese economy. The best example of this is the Chinese economy. The entire economy of China is fucking capitalist. All of it.
Well, without that, you've got slavery.
Right. Well, and they have some of that, but
They do have some of that. Shout out, shout out to Timu.
Yeah. I mean, well, this not be. I mean, again, we can't have a discussion if we're not being honest, right? Like there is some of that, but you know, but I mean, but mostly they're capitalists, and the only part of it that's communist, which isn't even really communism anymore. It's like neo-communist. It's more fascist, to be honest with you. But it's like a neo-communist sort of deal, and that is the government. And you know, obviously they have free healthcare, but even now, so at one point in time, the government owned all the healthcare, right? And now private industry is getting into healthcare, and now the socialized healthcare in China is on the decline, especially in things that people care about, like dentistry, emergency care, that kind of thing. It's socialized healthcare, just like in England, just like in Germany, just like in France. The socialized healthcare is on a decline. Like you're not seeing the government pump millions and millions of dollars into making that system better. What you're seeing is you're seeing capitalist motherfuckers like Flow State over here saying,
"You need surgery? I got you.
I got you, bro. I got you." And that's what's happening. It's happening in China. It's happening in France. It's happening in well, Germany's not really socialist, but it's happening in the UK, and it's been happening in those countries for a long time.
Well, your alternative is like in Canada, where they're like, "Oh, hi, I see you called for a doctor. Would you like to self-delete?"
I see you called for a doctor. We can get you one next Thursday. In the meantime, would you like to just self-delete because it might be less pain? What's up, EOD 696? I actually really have to go. Everybody keeps coming in. Yeah. I can stay a few. Let me see what time it is. Fuck, my mouse is.
It's 2:20.
Oh fuck. I can do another few minutes. Whatever. What's up, EOD?
I've only got 10 minutes myself.
You got 10 minutes. All right, good. We'll do 10 minutes around. But I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy with all. It's so interesting to me that we keep pushing. We have so many people in this country pushing for socialism when every other fucking country in the world is pushing for less socialism. Like they're getting less of it.
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of humanity, though, right? Like nothing. Part of I think that psychologically, part of the problem is that we are problem-solving machines, right? So we're gonna find a problem even if we don't have one, which I think is what the whole trans thing is. I think that's a lack of problems, and so you're manufacturing your own problems. I
mean, I don't think you're wrong. I don't know that that's a key reason, but I think certainly there's an element of that for sure.
Yeah, I'll grant it. I'll grant it an element and not key status.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I don't know. This is gonna be an interesting debate. I've tried to figure out where he's gonna come from. I watched this debate with Rob. I watched his debate with Andrew, and I've watched his conversations with other people. And I feel like I understand where he's going to come from, but we'll see. I feel like I'm prepared. Of course, I don't use notes. I don't have. You can see me use my hands because I'm not typing on the keyboard. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I might get my ass kicked. He is certainly he's certainly far more versed in the meta of the economic arguments than I am, but I don't care about the meta, and I'm just gonna whenever he tries to go meta, I'm just gonna be the same thing I did with the in the modern day debate thing with the secular humanist. I'm just gonna grant him whatever and be like, no, I don't care because this is the thing, and or I will just bring it down to the mud. I don't know if you saw that, Flo, but there was a point where the guy's like, people are inherently good and they want to be good. And if you just let them be good, they'll be good. And I'm like, brother, if it wasn't for Christianity, I'd be a pirate slitting throats. He was like,
I don't actually believe that. I don't think so. No,
you think I'm a nice guy?
I think that there's utility in cooperative relationships. There's more utility in cooperative relationships than there is in adversarial relationships. And to that extent, yes, I think that being moral is actually pragmatic.
Yeah. I mean, I can go along with that.
There's a short-term versus long-term mindset, right? So it's pragmatic to be moral in the medium and long term. It's pragmatic to be immoral in the short term.
Well, I think what you're I'll tell you the same thing I told the secular humanist. I think what you're really talking about are ethics. I think you're talking about it's better to be it's in the short term. It's easier to be ethical
What's
and
the difference
to act
between?
in an ethical frame.
I don't think
well,
that
ethical is more derived from a set of rules or agreed upon standards or something like that. It's not moral is just like an innate knowledge of things should be or ought be, and
I don't
ethics
think
are.
that there's a difference.
You don't think? I think there's.
I don't think there's any difference at all.
Okay.
I think that there's a difference between actual ethics. I think ethics and morals are the same thing. I think that customs and culture are different, right? Like not cussing. I won't say a cuss word around my grandma. I don't think it would be immoral to do so, but it would be against our customs. It'd be considered rude. But even though it doesn't actually cause any harm to her. I
mean, I would disagree, but it's a small disagreement. And it's not worth going back and forth about. It's just that I don't see how I think you can justify ethics without appealing to an ought claim. Whereas with morality, you pretty much have to, you eventually distill it down to an ought claim. And then there's all the weirdness that goes along with that. So I think ethics are in fact different than morality. You don't
think ethics do have an ought claim?
Do they?
I mean, I ought not pull my dick out right now on your channel because then you wouldn't like me. You wouldn't like raid me like you did last night, right?
Yeah.
So there is an ought. It's just a practical one instead of a God says so one. But they're still both ought claims.
I don't know that ethics have a specific ought claim, but I'm not going to get bogged down in that. I don't.
And I would argue that both of them still hinge on your own best interest. Both of them have utility.
Sure, there's a utilitarian argument there to be made. So, all right, I am going to have to bug out, guys. I've just been paged, and obviously, my wife's not unhappy, but not happy.
I call cap. All right, I'm going to let you get out of here. Thanks for having me up. Salute to the chat.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your evening. Remember, be back here in about 2 hours. We're gonna fire up the debate. It's gonna be me versus Econoboy, capitalism versus socialism. I'm right, he's wrong. We all know that. We're gonna prove it tonight, and it's gonna be awesome. Bring your money, throw some super chats around, have fun, party, do all the things, because I'm not gonna be able to talk and jabber over this way. But 5 o'clock Central Time. That's roughly 2.5 hours. We're going to wreck some Econoboy tonight. You guys come back, have some fun. In the meantime, as always, be cool, wear glasses if you need them, and